Hello, and welcome back to season four now of Visiting Dugout. I'm Crystal O'Keefe, podcaster, managing editor, way too often of a contributor to Southside Sox. And yes, we're in our four seasons. You've had four seasons of dealing with me now, so thank you all for still listening. Today I have my all-time favorite Brewer fan in the entire world, Jordan White, on to chat about all things Brewers and opening day. So, hello, welcome back.
Hi, Crystal. It's good to be back. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Even though I just saw you a few weeks ago because
I
we got
know. I was
breakfast
about to say we
together.
just discussed this podcast over brunch just a few weeks ago when I was in town. I said, "Hi, you must come back." Um, so yeah, thank you.
Of course.
So, for those of you who are new to this show, we tend to break down what happened, what's going on, what's new with the Brewers, and then we'll jump into the series preview. So, to start off, how was spring training for the Brewers? Were there unexpected breakout stars, unexpected outcomes? What happened?
I think mostly I'm going to kind of try to go like highlights and lowlights for both pitching and hitting and everything like that. I think generally things went largely as expected. There were a few surprises, I'd say, just like to kind of like start with the White Sox connection, one of like the highlights. Andrew Vaughn looked pretty solid throughout spring training. Didn't seem like he was a fluke last year in like the small sample size that he had with the Brewers, which is really encouraging. That was great. He was hitting the ball hard. He didn't strike out too much. I think his strikeout rate was only 16.3% in like 50 plate appearances over spring training. So it looked solid. Um, on the other side of that platoon at first base, Jake Bauers actually looked really, really good during spring training. He hit 6 home runs, walked 16.3% of the time, was hitting the ball really, really hard, had like a 98.1 mile per hour average exit velocity. Um, Very excited about that. And obviously, he's a guy who can play both first base and then outfield as well. So good versatility there with a left handed bat. That's mostly going to be in that platoon with Andrew Vaughn and probably DHing quite a bit, not playing outfield. Um, One that was really surprising to me was Brandon Lockridge. Brandon Lockridge was an acquisition last year, I believe, from the Padres, if I remember correctly. They picked him up, and Brandon Lockridge, really, really tiny sample size in the majors for his career. He had never hit a ball harder than like 108 miles per hour, but this spring he's hit three balls over 110 and had a hard hit rate of, I believe it was 60% in 49 plate appearances. He looked really, really good. I mean, 12.2% walk rate as well, which is fantastic. So good eye at the plate. He was crushing the ball. So, I mean, he's mostly going to be a bench bat and really probably be like a lefty specialist. So whenever they have a left-handed starting pitcher, that'll probably be when he gets starts on occasion, spelling guys like Churio and others because he's really good defensively, super fast, like 99th percentile sprint speed, solid arm. So guys like that popping off in the spring and looking really good is really encouraging. Largely, I think pretty optimistic on the hitting front. Um, on the pitching side of things, pretty much across the board, it was awesome. Maybe like you can knock Chad Patrick. He had like some poor results and stuff like that. A lot of hard contact, gave up a lot of runs and things like that. Um, but if you look at where they were after they traded Freddy Peralta, which I know we will get into later, it was like, okay, who's going to be the ace for this team, whatever. And that's not really what the Brewers do. What the Brewers do is they basically get a bunch of like SP3 or 4 types, and they're like 10 deep between
Mhm.
their major league rotation in the minor leagues and AAA that they can call up at any time to make a spot start. So, I mean, guys like Shane Drowan, who's also a White Sox old friend and someone that I'm particularly high on, and I think he's going to be pitching really meaningful innings by the end of the season because he looks awesome. Um, are the type of guys that I'm really, really into. I mean, Robert Gasser looked great. Misiorowski, his velo looks fantastic. Stuff is really, really good. Brandon Sproat, the acquisition from the Mets, looked really, really solid so far. Kyle Harrison, who the Brewers traded for from the Red Sox in the Caleb Durbin deal, also looked really, really good. Um, and then pretty much across the board, the bullpen for the Brewers. is almost always a strength, and they look great again this spring. So across the board, I mean, this might be the most optimistic I've been for a team for the Brewers because like last year it was. I mean, we entered the season third base. Our platoon was Vinny Capra and Oliver Dunn.
Vinny
It
Capra,
wasn't.
friend of the White Sox.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't a great outlook. And then they still won 97 games. So like I think this team has it in them to finish that well again. I think the division is far more competitive than it was, but yeah, overall I think I feel pretty good about spring training and what I've seen so far. So,
I know they got so much heat for when they beat the Cubs
hmm.
to advance with the L flag for the W flag. I, as a natural born hater, loved it. Thought it was great. I think you should
I'm
do it again.
I'm here for the petty. It's fine. That's the
Yeah.
thing is like it's the idea of like you should be able to dish it out and also take it, right?
Mhm.
At the same
Cubs.
time. Like I know the Cubs would have been just as like
Yeah.
there or at least a lot of Cubs fans out there would have been just as like haterish about it if they had won the series. So like I mean, again, I'm happy like if they beat us, if people want to talk a lot of crap to us, then can we swear on this podcast?
Yes, you can swear. Yes.
Okay, cool. If people want to talk shit, awesome. That's fine. Um we can take it. We're all adults. Well, most of us are adults. Um But yeah, I think that this team can absolutely make a run into the playoffs again, despite the fact that the division I think has gotten a lot more competitive.
It
So
has, yeah. And unfortunately the Cubs are also only kind of improving, which sucks
yeah,
for your division. But again, they call it Wrigley North, and sometimes they just need to get their shit rocked.
true.
So I had a reply back with someone because I had mentioned it was like, oh, I need to come up for opening weekend. I want to be there. And someone was like, oh, we love the Chicago money here. And I was like, hey, we're not calling it Wrigley North. Uh, Sox fans are respectful. And she's like, no, we have no issue with Sox fans. It's the Cubs people that come in and act like they own the place. And I was like, well, you don't have to worry about that from us. Us White Sox fans hate ourselves. So we won't hate anyone else.
I would say it's like an enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of thing, but we're
Yeah.
really like it's not even that. We're just like I feel like White Sox fans and Brewers fans are kind of kindred spirits because we both kind of get little broed by the Cubs in terms of like size of the fan base and things
Yeah.
like that. So I don't know. I think White Sox fans personally are welcome in Milwaukee anytime, and it's not a weird dynamic whatsoever. I think that we're very much inherently tied.
I have so many Brewers pals that I am looking forward to seeing this coming weekend anyway. So we all love each
Same.
other. Big happy family between the two fan bases.
Yes.
So we touched on Freddy Peralta. You did bring him up because you kind of did lose that ace. He's a phenomenal pitcher. But how do you feel about what the Brewers did in the offseason? Because again, they traded away him, and I knew that was brutal. I know Janice was kind of bummed about that. But
Yeah.
yeah, how do you feel about what they did?
So trading away Freddy Peralta, like I would try to maintain perspective as a fan of the team and of him. Like he's been with us. He came up with the organization. Um, he's always been such a figurehead, I feel like, for the fans as like a representative of the team and like in the locker room. He's always just been a really good vibes guy. And it's always sad to see guys like that go. But realistically, he's going to sign somewhere else after his contract is up after this year. We knew that it was just a clear expiration date. We probably weren't going to be able to offer him something that would make him want to stay realistically without, at least according to Mark Anasio, maintaining enough financial flexibility to do other things too. So he had to go. I think that what they got in return in getting Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams was a really excellent return. Sproat is a guy, as well as Jet Williams. They're both guys who are like recently touted as top 100 prospects. Have a little bit less shine on them than they did a few years ago, but they're still really high floor outcome players. And I think that's kind of like the name of the Brewers game is just kind of finding these guys who maybe are a little bit post hype or like are maybe a couple adjustments away from being league average or just above and things like that, and just like making the most out of their skill sets. Um, and I think kind of in tandem with the move that they made to trade away Caleb Durbin, like if you look at the collective moves they made this offseason, they really did a good job at raising the floor of what this team could be. So I think that overall, like, while it does stink to get rid of someone like Freddie, I think the return that they got, along with the other moves that they made, really made the team better.
Valid, and we'll see Brandon Sprout this weekend. He is the day three starter as of like 10 minutes ago when I looked.
Oh, that changed then. That's good to
It
know.
it very recently. I checked right before we started to record to see if there was any more Brewers updates. So again, and you mentioned you are probably the most confident you've been in a long time heading into 2026. It seems like optics are clicking, things are good.
Yep.
So just kind of what else are you really looking forward to with the Brewers this season?
I think generally there's a lot to be excited about. There's a lot of really exciting young prospects. So, like, if we make a run deep into the playoffs, or it looks like we're really going to make a push for the division, we need like some extra help, injuries occur, whatever it might be. I mean, obviously, starting the year, we have guys like Luis Rengifo and then David Hamilton, who are kind of like the main bets to be like getting a lot of playing time at third base. And they're vets, like have played tons in the majors and everything like that. But there's a lot of really exciting young dudes in the minors that we don't know what's going to happen. They could get call ups and stuff like that. So I would love to see a lot of these guys get chances later in the season, everything like that. It would be, I mean, incredible if Jesus Madej somehow got called up. Like I would be overjoyed to see him play in the majors this year if he had a really really solid um, time at like Double A. Then there's guys like Brock Wilken also getting a ton of at bats. Um, Cooper Pratt also got a ton of run in spring training this year. Guys like that are really really exciting to see. Um, and then again, there's so much starting pitching depth in this organization. We have like five guys in the rotation right now, but just like looking at the Brewers, when you go to their minor league system, there's guys like Logan Henderson, who was absolutely stellar last year. Obviously, he had some forearm issues in camp, and that was a little bit concerning. But then, like Robert Gasser, Coleman Crow, Shane Drowan, like you can probably go another five, six starting pitchers deep into that AAA squad and find guys that are going to be really, really exciting to have as like an SP5 on most teams. So it's just all these guys that have like really good upside that throughout the season, I mean, they used, I think it was 13 or 14 different starting pitchers last year. Um, and I think that's kind of been the whole blueprint this entire time, like well before David Stearns left and now, like since Matt Arnold took over, just like finding guys like that that they can make small adjustments with and try to help them succeed. So I'm just kind of excited to see all those guys eventually step in and contribute as well.
I love that. That's kind of where we're at as like White Sox fans. We have just a lot of young guys that are they just had the rookie season. They're in kind of year two, barely
Yeah.
into year three kind of thing. So just a lot of young guys that are going to be playing this year that are kind of new to everybody. And a lot of people are kind of back into tuning into the White Sox because they had somewhat of a splashy off season. So to some people, Colson Montgomery is a brand new face that they had no
Yeah.
idea existed until the beginning of this year. So yeah, I love that. I love the idea of finally watching all these prospects and hoping that their dreams are coming to life. That's my favorite part about baseball is like when prospects get those call ups and they get to come in and show their worth. I get emotional because I am a mother.
Yeah.
All right,
No,
well, we're
I'm
gonna
really
t
excited for. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was really excited for Murakami's debut.
Mm-hmm.
I'm jazzed to see him play.
That is, I think, what fully brought my husband back into the fold. He saw that acquisition come through and he was like, "Oh, okay, so they're being somewhat serious this year. Okay,
Yeah.
good." So, and he sees me like fawn over Kyle Teal, and he's like, "Okay, if you're excited for a change, then maybe it's worth checking out this year." But who knows? All right, we're gonna take a quick break to pay bills. we'll be right back to talk about this series. Okay, welcome back. Let's get into the series with the Brewers. So, our pitching matchup. When I just checked, opening day, we have Shane Smith, who just got absolutely lit up the other night, unfortunately, and Jacob Misiorowski. Day two, we've got Sean Burke and Chad Patrick. And then leading out the end of the series, we've got Anthony Kay and Brandon Sproat. So, what can you tell us about what we might be seeing from Brewers pitching?
So Mizorowski, triple digit fastballs, like 88, 89 mile an hour curveballs, just disgusting stuff. He does have a tendency when he does allow people to make contact and he's not missing bats to get hit a little bit hard. So depending on what the weather is like, I think it's supposed to be raining that day and they're going to have the dome closed for the opening game on Thursday. Uh, with that in mind, weather's not going to be as much of a factor. It will still be a bit chillier, so I think the ball's going to stay in the ballpark. It's not going to fly quite as much as you would think. So I think it'll probably be fine, but it's going to be a tough time for the White Sox. Uh, Chad Patrick, he's just going to be mixing sinkers, cutters, four seamers up at the top of the zone, in on the hands, throwing in some, sweepers in there, here and there. That's probably the game for me that's the most iffy, I would say, just because he has been getting hit hard this spring and just seeing how he adjusts once he gets into live game action like this in the regular season. I'm going to see how he adjusts because, again, guys could get hit hard in the spring if
Mhm.
they're just like working on their pitch mix or just tinkering with stuff or trying new things or experimenting, whatever. And, he could go back to doing the same stuff he was doing near the end of the year last year where I mean, he was pitching out of the bullpen, but he was really dominant. Um, and then with Sproat, I'm not totally sure what to expect because there was only a handful of games actually televised. I think there was maybe 4 spring training games televised for the Brewers.
Mhm.
I didn't really get to see Sprout pitch. Um, so that one to me remains an enigma, honestly.
Yeah, he
Um,
had the best ERA of the three. He's only at a 5 with 9 innings, whereas poor Chad Patrick, he's almost at a 12 with
yeah,
12 and a third innings under his belt
yeah.
for spring training.
And small sample sizes and all that. Like I'm looking at like K
Mhm.
to base on ball ratios for all of them. Sprout had a 27K to 5.4 base on ball ratio. A lot of these guys, though, I have noticed they're getting hit hard to the tune of like 45, 50% hard hit rates, which not
Mhm.
great, right? So if you're giving up a lot of loud contact like that, you're going to have a bad time regardless. But seeing someone like Sprout who's like filling up the strike zone, not walking a ton of guys, at least we're limiting damage that way. So as long as they can kind of bridge the gap and get to the bullpen, I have a lot of faith in the bullpen to be really effective. So that's kind of the main thing there.
So, who on this Brewers team do you feel like might be the biggest threat to the White Sox for this series?
I think mostly it's just the left-handed bats, Terang, Yelich, Frelick, um, Garrett Mitchell, I guess. Um, he had like a 50 something percent strikeout rate this spring, which is obscene. I'm not super. That was actually one that I forgot to highlight earlier is that he had a really rough spring from a strikeout standpoint. He was hitting the ball hard when he was making contact, but boy, oh boy, 50% strikeout rate's not going to play. Um, I think that Bowers will probably get some run this series, and I think that he'd be one to watch to have like a key clutch home run and maybe chase one of these start right-handed starting pitchers out of the game early.
Hmm.
Um, so that's the person that I would point to most likely. And then on the pitching side of things, it's mostly just Jacob Misiorowski, just because he's so electric.
Yeah, of course. So, the keys for the Brewers to win, because again, we've only seen these sample sizes. We don't know how either team is necessarily going to gel so
Mm-hmm.
early on. So, what do they need to do to stand out and to win this series?
So for the Brewers, I think it's just playing mostly like mistake-free defensive baseball. They have a lot of pitchers, especially like once you reach the bullpen, that are really good at initiating ground ball contact, and that infield defense up the middle is really strong with Terang and Joey Ortiz. Um, so keep the ball on the ground once the bullpen comes in and everything like that. And I think that one thing that they could do to really help themselves is be really aggressive on the base paths. Edgar Caro is not the best person at throwing people out.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of very speedy players and aggressive base runners on the Brewers who can swipe bags. So I think being aggressive on the base paths against him will be a really important thing to help manufacture runs. Um, so those are the main things that I can think of. Um, yeah.
So on kind of that opposite end of the spectrum, what fears do you have? Do you think they're going to just make a bunch of silly mistakes because it's early and they've got the jitters despite being professional male athletes?
Yeah. I mean, none of this, like the first like few weeks of the season, I try to like tell myself isn't actually real in a lot of ways. Like we can't really buy into it that much. Um, Honestly, my main thing in terms of like fears is like, okay, I just hope no one gets hurt. Like that's like the main thing. If we can get out of these first couple series like healthy, things are going smooth. We don't have to like jostle guys around to help fill gaps because someone got hurt. That's the ideal thing. And then I think they're still kind of as a team. There was a lot of changes. They're still going to be like gelling and fortifying their identity as a team. So if they like drop 2 or 3 against the White Sox, I'm not going to be like going into panic mode over 3 games. It's such a tiny sample size. Um, if we're 8 9 games below 500 after a month, then I can try kind of start to panic, right? But like for now, I think just kind of get out of the first few weeks healthy, see where we're at, see what's working, see what's not, get a few starts under all these guys' belts in terms of starting pitching, and see kind of like where the repertoires stand. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it.
So moving away from our teams and looking at Major League Baseball as a whole, what are you either most excited about for this season or, your hot takes or your ice cold takes or anything? Just how are you feeling heading into this 2026 season?
So I think that there's kind of like a cloud hanging over the season for some people with what might be an impending work stoppage due to the CBA needing to be renegotiated and hashed out. Um, I feel like I hope it isn't the case, but I have a sense that there's going to be articles written, discourse about like the impending work stoppage, and people are going to be too focused on that to enjoy the baseball that's happening in front of them. But there's like a lot of good things to be excited about. I mean, is Junior Caminero going to repeat the season that he had last year after he had an amazing World Baseball Classic? We have all these new Japanese players that are entering into the player pool with Munetaka Murakami. You have Tatsuya Imai, Kazuma Okamoto for the Blue Jays. Like, there's a lot of cool, young, new talent that's coming into the league, and a lot of stuff to enjoy. Um, I just hope that no one lets that impending probable work stoppage get in the way of enjoying the baseball that we do get this season, and then we can address that later. Um, Also, I feel like a hot take, maybe, probably not a hot take. No, that's a hot take. I feel like this might finally be the year that the Brewers break through and make the World Series.
Okay. I love it because you are so optimistic about this
Yeah,
and you're a numbers guy. You know what's in front of you, so I
yeah.
love
I
that.
also there's also a good amount of cope in front of me right now, probably, but like at the same time, I don't know. I feel like they're pretty well tooled up to compete again, like with as much starting pitching depth as they have. Like if a guy gets hurt and goes down, like it does suck. Yeah, but at the same time, there's so much behind them to help pick them up and like bridge the gaps over the course of the season. They're built for like the full season and to withstand like all of the damage that a team can take over that time. So I think I'm pretty optimistic from that regard. And then I think, I guess if I had to predict, I will say that I think that the Brewers will make the World Series, but I will get my heart broken and they'll lose to, let's say, the Red Sox
Oof,
in 6 games.
don't will that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
There's just so much good pitching on that team, and I feel like that's the one team that could probably like disarm the Brewers offensively
Yeah, I get
completely.
the sense there'll be a juggernaut too, unfortunately, as much as I
Yeah.
don't want that to be the case. Ugh.
Or, we could just be celebrating another, well, maybe not celebrating is the right word, but recognizing another Dodgers World Series, who's to say? But I think that Boston squad, like if you get like Peyton Tolley in the mix and there's like a high, like 90th percentile outcome for him, I think Connolly Early is probably going to win Rookie of the Year as a
Hmm.
pitcher. I think he's just too good to sit in the minors. I mean, like, no offense to Johan Oviedo, but I think that Connolly Early is just way too good.
It's
Um,
wild how they build up their pitching squad so
yeah,
much. Like they just have, it's like they have a list of like 50 really excellent guys that they could just pick and choose from at any given moment. And like they could trade and not lose anything of value,
yeah,
but like
they have,
get someone like Eric Crochet.
yeah, and they have yeah, they have super excellent organizational depth to trade from and to pull from, whether it's obviously calling guys up or like you said, like as trade capital. Yeah, oh, yeah, they're great. Um, it is a bit of envy, but at least, I mean, I guess if they do beat us, I can celebrate Brewers' old friend Caleb Durbin being a World Series champion. I don't know.
I can celebrate Garrett Crochet, White Sox
Yes,
old friend, even though
yes.
he hates us now. You could tell.
Even better, Romy Gonzalez.
Yes. Yes. We love a Romy Gonzalez in this
Before
house.
he got hurt, he was like one of my guys for this year for fantasy baseball. I was very sad to hear that he had the shoulder issue, but
Hmm.
hopefully he's back in a couple months' time.
So I didn't add anything in, although just totally on me. World Baseball Classic, did you pay a lot of attention to it? Were you able to? How do you feel?
Thank God the US lost. Oh, I was like, it feels like the villains would have won if the U. I mean, anti-American as I may sound, do not care. They were just such a tight ass team and just so lame to watch.
Really
And
unlikable.
yeah, just the vibes were completely in shambles when it came to that team.
Rancid.
I was not. Yeah, it was not great. So I was very, very glad, and I think that Venezuela winning was a very, very, very good outcome narratively. So I was very happy for that squad.
Yeah,
Anytime I get
seeing
to see Eugenio Suarez happy,
Yep, exactly. Just
oh
seeing him like holding up that flag and just like the pure joy and elation on his face, I was like, this is how it needed to be. I like so many of these players on the Venezuelan team. And like if Italy wasn't gonna go through, then it needed to be either like Dominican Republic or Venezuela. Those were kind of my only options that I wanted. But I got like there was a pit in my stomach. I texted the group chat, the Keelan, Colleen, Janice, Estrogen Power Hour group chat. We
yep,
were kind of live texting during that series and just ranted vibes. And then I was like, I have a really bad feeling about this. And then Bryce Harper does what he does best. And I'm like, oh no, oh no. And I'm kind of like pacing. At one point, I just went upstairs to my bedroom. My husband is still sitting in the living room watching this. And I'm just like, I can't watch this. I feel sick to my stomach. And then it finally ended, and we both were like, yes, and rejoicing. And my poor son, who just doesn't understand how like rancid Team USA was, he was like, oh,
yeah.
they played like ass. And I was like, they are ass, actually. Every single one of them on that team. Like I have no respect for most of those players now. Like, and then as a Mason Miller defender, him immediately taking off his medal, I was like, excuse me, little boy. I don't think so.
Yeah, it was just like if toxic masculinity was a baseball team
Yeah.
entirely.
And just the military propaganda of it all was really gross.
Yeah, the imperialism of the entire thing was pretty ass
Yeah.
across the board. But then you have like the inverse of Venezuela and like men openly crying and like hugging each other and showing emotion. It's like this is how it should be.
Yeah.
This is great.
I saw that on Blue Sky. Someone was like, this is how men should view this, like embracing, crying, being emotional, being very happy that you won instead of whatever PCA was doing at any point in time during
Yeah.
that game. Because, man, I just want to deck him in the face. I'm a hater by birth, okay?
I
Okay.
understand. Again, birds
Um,
of a feather, White Sox and Brewers fans. Chip on our
yes,
shoulder.
yes, and hating Pete Crow Armstrong together, as everyone should. Well, that's what I have for you. Thank you so much for always coming on and talking Brewers with me. You're the best guest. Please just let people know where they can find you, even though you are a rarity on social media for good reasons.
I remain an enigma. I'm not on Instagram, anything like that. I am on Blue Sky, and I occasionally post. It's honestly not that often about baseball, if I'm being honest.
Hmm.
So, I mean, but yeah, if you want to find me on there, my handle is Bunt Singles, BUNTSINGLES .bsky.social on Blue Sky. So if you want to find me there, feel free to hit me up. Other than that, I mean, if you're in Milwaukee, say hey. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can say hey this weekend. Be there Saturday.
I'm looking at tickets literally while we're on the pod together right
Perfect.
now.
You,
So,
me, John, Stephanie,
yes,
Janice, whole crew will be there.
love it.
All right. Well, thank you. Best of luck in this series. Look forward to seeing you soon. And yeah, that's it. Bye.
Bye.